there with the Arte de Guerra channel. In today's video, I will talk about one of the biggest challenges that the Ukrainian armed forces and their NATO allies are facing in this war against Russia, which is trying to jam Russian inertial systems. But before I start, I wanted to tell you that I am Commander Robinson Farinazzo, a reserve Navy officer. This is the Arte de Guerra channel, a vehicle for military, strategic, and geopolitical analysis. So, give us a like to help us out. That said, let's get to today's video. Well, here's what happens. As I mentioned in yesterday's video, which raised many questions, Russia uses inertial systems for guiding its bombs, the glide bombs, and it actually has a dual system, the GLONASS system, which is GPS and can be jammed, and the inertial system. How does this inertial system work, that it can't be jammed? It is immune to external interferences. When you have the GPS system, you can emit radio signals that block the connection of the device with the satellite. However, the inertial system works autonomously. It has internal accelerometers and gyroscopes that calculate speed all the time based on the initial movement of the device. So, what happens? Since this system is self-contained, you can't jam it. You can't disrupt the calculations it makes. What you can actually do is jam the GLONASS system of this device, whether it's a bomb, a missile, or whatever, a drone, right? And then, when it comes time for the inertial system to make comparisons, it will have some problems, right? But even so, this is not very feasible. Unless you manage to effectively carry out a kinetic attack, hit the device or with the missile, whatever it is, you will hardly be able to interfere with these systems through inertial guidance. And what happens? There is another country that uses and abuses inertial systems for the guidance of its devices, which is Iran. Because Iran knows its main opponent in the Middle East is Israel, and it knows that the Israelis have good jamming systems and could interfere with their GPS systems. So they use inertial systems. Of course, sometimes the inertial system won't be as precise as a GPS system, but it's sufficient. It will cause damage. We saw the attacks the Iranians carried out in Israel during the war last year, which were devastating. And Iran acquired this technology in various ways. They got a lot from the Russians, a lot from the Chinese, things they picked up, bought around, copied. And by the way, there's something very important I need to tell you. When you work with military systems engineering, you always have to opt for the evolutionary system. Taking something that already exists, like a war tank that already exists, for example, and evolving it until it reaches an increasingly perfect system. Why? Because it's cheaper. The evolutionary system, or copying if you prefer, is valid. Everything is fair in war, is much cheaper than creation. When you create something from scratch, the investment in terms of money, human capital, facilities, testing, raw materials, etc., is enormous. When you go for evolution, you already have a significant amount of work done. You are not starting from scratch. You already have a substantial amount of work completed. In fact, you are just incorporating more factors into the same thing. So, this is a lesson for everyone, which Brazil, unfortunately, does not take advantage of. I always say that, in the 80s we had the prototype of an amazing vehicle, which was the Osorio. We set it aside. If we had continued with the Osorio, imagine where we would be today if we had pursued this evolutionary idea of weapon systems. But, getting back to the main point, what Iran did was this. They bought systems, copied them, or, when they purchased things from Russia and China, they developed them and now have good inertial systems. Russia has already learned that it needs inertial systems. They managed to bypass Ukraine's jamming systems. And the truth is that NATO has excellent jamming systems. So, for example, they previously had the ALQ-99 in the United States Navy. Now the NGBMB has been introduced, which is manufactured by Raytheon. It operates in frequencies from 500 MHz to 18 GHz to jam radars and communication systems. They have been testing this system, apparently on the aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln. Now, Russia has a system that is already famous, which is the Murmansk BN. The Murmansk BN already operates in HF frequencies from 3 to 30 MHz and can interfere with communications up to 5,000 kilometers. The United Kingdom also has its systems. France has systems as well. China has very good systems. They have already been causing problems for the United States Navy in the South China Sea, which has even led to disciplinary actions in the American armed forces. This is true. Chinese systems are getting better and better, and the Chinese are masters at what I mentioned earlier about evolutionary systems in terms of weaponry. Speaking of the Navy, we also need to mention submarines. How does the inertial system for submarines work, which in fact is the basis of submarine navigation? Before leaving, they calibrate the inertial system with GPS, and they have accelerometers that measure linear acceleration on the north, south, east, west, and vertical axes, and gyroscopes that determine changes in angular orientation, such as roll, pitch, yaw, etc. And they maintain the stability of the submarine. These sensors are all integrated into a computer, which calculates the submarine's trajectory. They also have some algorithms like the Kalman filter, which is used to reduce errors. Nowadays, submarines already have fiber optic or laser gyroscopes, whose error rate is very small. It's generally 1 kilometer after 150 hours of navigation, that is, after 6 days of navigation. But also, if they think the error is too large, you can use sonar to read the seabed. There are previous charts, it's already mapped beforehand, and the sonar makes these comparisons and provides an accurate calculation of the position. I remember that the inertial system is very important for the submarine because it maintains its secrecy, as there is no emission in inertial systems, making it very difficult to detect the submarine. Now, of course, if they are unsure of the position, you surface and take a GPS reading to correct and achieve greater accuracy. Nowadays, submarine gyroscopes are becoming increasingly miniaturized and precise, and they are now also starting to be integrated with artificial intelligence, using increasingly precise algorithms for data acquisition. But let's get back to the issue of jamming. But the jamming system has a problem because when you use jamming, electronic scrambling, etc., it doesn't know what it's doing. It will scramble everything in the area. So, if you have an emergency network, civilian television network, everything will go off the air. Everything will be scrambled. You won't have anything, including friendly communications. The problem that Russia had a lot at the beginning of the Ukraine war is that the Russian jamming systems were so powerful that they sometimes interfered with the Russian armed forces' own communications. But the truth is that nowadays a modern army cannot be without the jamming system nor without an inertial system. Why? Because I say this: Brazil does not have a constellation of satellites. If one day we find ourselves in a military situation that doesn't interest the owner, which is the United States, we're in the middle of the jungle. So, if we have an inertial system that makes our systems independent, we can have a backup system that will ensure operability regardless of the authorization or not of the GPS system, besides the fact that it is relatively immune to jamming because it has autonomous systems that operate in that closed circuit here. So that was our video for today. Write to us, tell us what you think about inertial systems and also about jamming systems. Very important, folks. The jamming war is a war you don't see, but it has a huge impact on the battlefield. So, leave your comments here on what you think. That was our video for today, folks. If you want to support the channel, you can contribute with Super Sticker, Super Chat, or Pix, which is in the description. I remind you, I'll leave you now with the intro, as in February we have the Strong Men of the Middle East course. You can enroll in our course school. We'll be back shortly, always with responsibility and commitment. Faith in Brazil, everyone. See you later.
Fé no Brasil, pessoal. Até mais. Pessoal, eu vou deixar aqui no link na descrição.
Well, folks, I will leave in the description link of this video our entire line of books about Ukraine, available on Amazon. There's a lot in various languages and formats as well. You will find things on Kindle in print format. What happens? Amazon delivers very quickly, especially for those who live here in the capital, São Paulo. It also accepts bank slips, credit cards, installment payments, etc. And I remind you, every time you buy books and other items on Amazon, you are helping the Arte da Guerra channel. Subtitles by Sonia Ruberti.